Well, foolishly, yours truly thought that Peter Kay would be the only comedian that I saw over the weekend, but unfortunately, the Newcastle United players decided to step up and put on an absolutely, well, was it the comedy show? Was it a horror show? I'll let you decide on that one. But not good enough. Newcastle United deep in trouble when it comes to the Premier League table. Things are not good. Performances aren't great. Substitutions or lack of are baffling. But we'll get into that in a little minute. I hope everybody's A-OK. It's a new week. There's no Newcastle United to sort of ruin your entire week this week. We've only got Manchester City next. But look, I'm still absolutely and utterly reeling off the result yesterday. Yesterday was the chance. Yesterday was the opportunity to make a statement after the West Ham fiasco. It wasn't the midweek game. We all expected them to get the 3 points in that game. They managed to get up. They managed to perform in the Champions League. It's the league that they're just not performing in. They're not doing what they are capable of. So we wanted the response to the West Ham performance yesterday against Brentford. Now, don't get me wrong, we took the lead somehow, somewhere, one shot on target, one goal. It wasn't good enough. But you're hoping 1-0 at half time, they're going to be able to see it through. We're going to be able to get the points on the board. And I said beforehand again on Toon Talk, that I didn't care how the 3 points came. All that mattered was getting the 3 points. I said if it deflected in, funnily enough, off Dan Burns' arse in the 94th minute, he wasn't on the pitch that long. But, whether it took a deflection, whether it was a scruffy performance, whether it was a smash and grab, I really didn't care at the point before recording the Toon Talk segment yesterday. I just wanted us to get the points, to take the pressure off, and to head into the international break with a little bit of confidence and renewed hope that despite a busy December with some massive fixtures in it, that we'd be okay. We'd be looking upwards and not downwards. But after yesterday, you've got to be saying that when it comes to the league, we are now looking downwards. We are now looking over our shoulders because we've got all the hallmarks of a team that is in trouble. We concede goals, we concede soft goals, we concede goals all of the time, and we are struggling to not only score goals, which is one problem, but also to create chances for the striker. Well, I was going to say strikers, but at this stage, it's basically striker that we've got at the club. So those are very like an alarming set of circumstances, and after recent great times, it's difficult. It really is difficult to put your thumb on it. And I think that Eddie Howe is finding that as well too. It is lucky he's got so much credit in the bank, banked off previous successes, 2 Champions League qualifications, 2 Wembley finals, 1 cup victory. Saving us when we were down and out. And he deserves and he will get the time, I've no doubt about it, to be able to turn this situation around. He created the new Newcastle United. He should get the opportunity and the time to be able to repair what is obviously going wrong in the team. But we're going to speak and we're going to start a little bit about what was said by Eddie Howe in the press conference yesterday. Because he's saying all the right things, he's saying what needs to be said, but at this stage, it's just words and you want actions. You really want to see actions. And it's a shame for all those players that are going around the world because I really do think that some of the players need to be knocked down a peg or two and they need to realise the situation and start performing like they are capable of performing. That's the frustrating thing about it. It's not like it's a team full of, you know, Jeremy's of the world. It's not a team full of, absolute down and out no hopers. They've got some really good quality players in there, and for whatever reason, they're not performing. But let's get down to what Eddie Howe has said in the aftermath of that yesterday. Absolute, totally not a clusterfuck, to be honest. And I've just taken some of the highlighted sections of it. So yeah, today was a tough day for us. Really difficult feeling at the moment. That was a tough game. Second half was really disappointing. Well, I'll stop you there first of all, Eddie, because the entire game was really disappointing. It wasn't like we were absolutely, knocking on the door, unlucky, hitting woodwork. Brentford were clearing them off the line. It wasn't like that. Yes, they were shit. They were shit throughout. We were just a worse form of shit. So you've got to call it as you see it. I don't think we can dress it up at all, to be honest. But getting back into what he said, we got ourselves in a really good position, and we know what type of game it was going to be. Really physical challenge for us, and a lot of set plays. That's what we used to be not too long ago when we were actually doing the do. But we'll go back to what he was saying. I felt we really did well in the first half. We navigated it excellently, but we switched off for a second and we got punished and the game changed. We were not at all Eddie. I'm sorry, like I love Eddie out of bits. For what he's done, he can walk on water as far as I'm concerned. He will always be a massive, one of our best ever managers for what happened, what he's done for us. But to call us excellent at all, we navigated it excellently. We didn't. We did not. We did not. We were a mile off it all game. The passes, we seemed to be. We were struggling, just sort of energy-wise, performance-wise, and there should be no excuse. I don't want to hear the scheduling issues or anything else like that because that doesn't come into it. It doesn't come into it whatsoever. They've got first class of everything, travel, personal chefs. You've got the best in sports scientists, the best doctors, hugely improved facilities. This isn't the days of, ice baths in wheelie bins, Things have moved on significantly, but to say that we were excellent and use that word at all, I felt it was really, really poor. It was smash and grab. We had one chance, we scored one goal. We didn't create a great deal of anything else. After that, Brentford weren't at the races, but did step it up. They went from probably first gear to second gear in the second half, and second gear was more than enough for us because we were probably in fucking neutral, to be honest, using the old car analogy. But back to what Eddie said, we know it's not good enough, and I take responsibility for that. The biggest thing is we stay together and are motivated for what's to come. What's to come? What's to come is a few more defeats, I'll tell you that, because we've got Manchester City next up. They absolutely smashed Liverpool. And then we've got Marseille away in the Champions League, a nice, easy away trip to be able to go on that one, where we absolutely normally crap away from home. But it is Europe, I suppose, so there may be a slight chance of maybe getting something over there. Perhaps a draw. You never know. But in the big scheme of things, I don't think it particularly matters what happens on that. It's just an exercise of can we win an extra couple of £1 million? And then we go into Everton away. Enough said. It's away, so we just don't win, do we? So, what's to come? But yeah, we know it's not good enough. That's the understatement of the year. It's definitely not good enough. It's nowhere near good enough. The old adage, we want to be number one. We're a million miles. We're a million miles away from that. And yeah, he takes responsibility for that. That's great. It's very noble. But in the bigger scheme of things, it does absolutely and utterly fuck all take responsibility for it. I didn't sleep as well last night thinking, well, it's a difficult result. We're in a difficult situation, a difficult spot on the journey at the moment. But you know what? Eddie House took responsibility for it, so I can sleep just that little bit more easier because he's took responsibility. That's your job, Eddie, at the end of the day, mate. Yeah, you've took the highs and the plaudits when things are going well, when things aren't going well. There is going to be accusations mudslung in his direction, not from yours truly as much, but I've seen plenty of different things over on social media. And you've got to expect that, and you've got to have a thick skin, and the players need to have a thick skin, and they need to not be protected from all of it because, in amongst it, there are a lot of home truths and there are a lot of things that need to be said, and players that need to be challenged, and players that need to produce a great deal, lot more. Back to what he was saying. So at the moment, we are suffering. We know we will rightly be criticised on our away form. And all we can do is stick together and fight back. Well, yes, away form is going to be critiqued, no doubt about it. But I would say this season, home and away, we've not played well at all. You tell me, yes, we have got victories at home. And I am very grateful and thankful for that. But the last time that we went to St James's Park and we're sort of that was a great performance, that a complete performance, and you're scratching your head and you're struggling to think, we've got lucky in games. There's been 1-0 smash and grabs, where decisions have gone massively in our favour. And on another day, on the toss of a coin, it could have been quite the different set of circumstances. So to say that it's just the away thing is to me, not correct. The issues that we're seeing sort of highlighted away from home are there still to be seen at home. We're a side that has been a bit shaky. Some of that's down to the goalkeeper and his performances and his choices and his distribution, but some of it is down also to lack of chances being created, lack of crosses being put into the box, lack of getting shots away, the midfield being too deep, the midfield not working, not showing enough energy, the fact that we don't press anymore, um, and lack of possession. The list goes on. The issue is that when you go away from home, these problems are extended and even put under more strain. At St James's, you've got the crowd pushing you on. You've got that extra energy. Some of the opposition teams may sort of freeze slightly when they're at St James's Park, and all of that means that we have picked up some results. And let's face it, if we hadn't have picked some results up, we would have been even deeper and greater in the shit than what we currently are. And although you have to take things in context, we're top six in the Champions League, we're still in the League Cup. The league form, our bread and butter, it cannot be ignored. It's absolutely and utterly horrific. But the play this year, it has to be said, it hasn't been good enough at all from the start until right up to now. And there has been mitigation, there has been circumstances, but you've got to find a way around it. And we've certainly, even with the players that we've got out, should be expecting more than what has been served up. But back to what got said after the press conference last night, and like I say, I am paraphrasing it because you obviously can't go through every single thing that he said. But he thinks, one moment changed the feeling inside the stadium. This isn't the new camp. This isn't the new camp. This isn't the San Siro. It's the G-Tech Community Stadium. With the greatest respect, I've no beef with any Brentford supporter, but it's not exactly the most intimidating environment, is it? Um, so we needed to be better technically today. I think overall that's a big area for us. Well, yeah, he's right. Technically, we were shite. um, Even our experienced players, Dan Burn obviously had a total and utter nightmare. Totally deserved being sent off. Totally deserved the spot kick. I'm not having any excuses about that, but there were others. Kieran Trippier didn't have his greatest game defensively and offensively, not very well. And there's other players throughout the pitch. Joe Linton continued his run this season. I know he went off, but he's had a good game against Bradford, and that probably speaks volumes. Like the rest of the games, he hasn't been as physically imposing. He hasn't covered the ground. He hasn't put the challenges in as much, and it's just all very much a bit sad. Bruno's looked tired and fatigued. He's been obviously ill as well recently. Tonali didn't have his greatest game yesterday, but that's very unusual for him. Individual mistakes. We need to talk about the goalkeeper. Um, he's not coming and catching the ball at all. He's trying to get a hand to it, a fist to it, a palm to it, whatever he can to it, and it's just creating issues. And he's creating mistake after mistake, which is costing us goal after goal. His distribution is shocking. Uh, Laughing and joking midweek, and I don't feel like laughing and joking about it right now, but midweek in the Champions League, and he's launching the ball up and it goes out literally right in front of us, not once, but twice in 2 minutes. And you're like, well, that's Popey, all right. That's Popey, all right. Eddie Howe's speaking about the fact that he's working with him. He's trying to improve his game. It's not, it's not working. It's not working, and you've got a quality replacement on the bench, but we'll get to the bench in a little bit. And up top, at St James's Park, I think the midfield get closer to Big Nick. The wingers are a little bit closer, so he gets to have chances. Well, just in chances, one or two chances per game, and his ratio of sticking them away is really, really good. He's had a good start to his life at Newcastle United, but away from home, you need somebody who's going to be able to get the ball, hold the ball up, play in somebody else out wide, and then get forward. Because he's so isolated, he can't really do that. And then when he does get the ball, it's not sticking as much away from home. He's wanting crosses in, he's wanting good service. because again we're sitting so deep and we're starting with the ball from so deep, it's often not coming through to him. We're not creating the chances for him, and any striker worth the salt is only as good as the chances that he's creating. If we were creating chances time and time again and he wasn't sticking them away in the back of the net, you'd say, aye, fair enough. Eventually it will come. He's a quality player, no doubt about it. He's scored goals already. But when we're not creating chances, what do you expect? When we're feeding them on crumbs, what do you want? You know? The game was crying out, funnily enough, for a Johan Visser. However, it's anybody's guess to when he'll actually be back. I'm hoping he's going to be back after the international break. I would like to see him at least on the bench against Manchester City, given some minutes against Marseille, and then possibly starting against Everton. We can't keep going on forever. Well, he needs his fitness back, and he needs this back, and he needs that back, because by the time he comes back, it may be too late. So the time is now. The time is now. But back to what was getting said yesterday in the press conference, and bearing in mind, I'm staying quite calm. Yesterday, I was losing my shit. Today, we're trying to go through it and pick a little bit more meat off the old bones. Yeah, I think we were very loose with the ball today, as you said. A lot of unforced errors, I'd say, put us under pressure, and it meant they showcased their strengths more than what we did ours. We didn't showcase anything, Eddie. We really didn't. We were shite. We were shite throughout, and anybody who says any different, I mean, the goal was good. It was a good goal. I enjoyed that, but that was it. And then in 90 minutes of Premier League top quality football with top quality footballers, one shot, one moment, it's far from enough. It's far from enough. Back to what Eddie said, we didn't create many chances today. That's a huge disappointment. That's what we pride ourselves on. So there's a lot of reflection, I think, a lot of time now to make sure that we fix the problems we have for our next group of games. It's Groundhog Day. We've heard this before. We heard this after the West Ham game. Honestly, a huge disappointment. That doesn't. That's not the tip of the iceberg, you know. I'm more than hugely disappointed, to be honest. Raging that much. I could barely even get to sleep last night. Absolutely and utterly stuttered, and I hope that the players are feeling like that, because they don't really show it. Yes, they put social media statements up and you take it on face value, but it's never going to hurt for them as much as what it hurts for the fans, despite what they say. It's obviously bad for them. It'll affect them a little bit financially, possibly with bonuses and league positions, and you get paid for where you finish and stuff as well. I get all of that. But as a fan, it hurts far more. And I've been a fan who's travelled up and down the country, all over the place, to watch them play. It's not easy. It's even harder in these times financially to be able to do what we all do. We love the club. We want to support the lads. But they're not without criticism at the end of the day. Yeah, we didn't create too many chances today. Eddie, we haven't created too many chances all season, in being honest. Even when we've scored a couple of goals, there might be a couple of penalties in there and that sort of thing, and it's wallpapering over the cracks of what are the real issues. And chance creation, crosses into the box, is massive. We're not scoring enough goals. We're not spreading the goals out. Of course, we're not. We obviously previously had a huge reliance on a certain other striker, but Voldemar hit the ground running. He really has. He's done fantastically well. If the rest of the team were performing, if the rest of the team were creating chances and, sort of lobbing in the odd goal and stuff like that as well, we would be miles, miles, miles better off. So it really, really is a difficult one. And we'll go back to what he was saying, talking about the fact that the squad needs a confidence boost right now. I think the fans need a bloody confidence boost, never mind anybody else. But I thought the players were there. I thought they were present. I thought they gave everything to the game physically. But I think it was clear for me, if you watch Newcastle regularly, we were lacking in confidence. Confidence. There's no doubt it's going to take a hit with the results and stuff like that, to be honest. But I honestly don't think the players were there. I didn't see a marked improvement, to be honest, from the West Ham game. Equally shite, equally not as acceptable. And I just have to disagree. They gave everything they had physically, did they? I don't want to hear the schedule. I don't want to hear the schedule excuse because, like I touched upon before, first class travel, first class facilities, chefs cooking exactly what you want. You've got the best in sports science, the best doctors about. There's analysts. They're literally so pampered and they don't know how lucky they are. Even at other football clubs, you will not get what you are getting here. The pitches that they play on are like carpets. The facilities at the stadium are unbelievable. And even the training ground, which isn't the best by any stretch of the imagination, but it's had major money spent on it. And it's not exactly like, like a shed in the garden, is it? It's come on a long way. The training pitches are fantastic, and you compare to footballers of even 10, 20, 30 years ago, you've got it cushy. There can be no excuse about, physical, that side of it. If players are having to play all the time, that's because we haven't got the squad balanced enough to where it should be. And again, that comes down to Newcastle United, the scouting, the coaches, the management, the decision makers to do that. You know, is it correct that we've only got one left back and you're going into a season, a club of Newcastle United's stature, having one recognised left back because you don't rate Murphy? That's as clear as night and day. You're playing a square peg in a round hole by playing somebody out of position. You've got Emil Kraft hanging around still collecting a wage. You've got Joe Linton, bang out of any form. You've got Jamal Lascelles again hanging around, not getting any opportunities even taken away. You've got others just hanging around there, named as squad players, but never even hardly get on the bench, never get any minutes. And you're either good enough to be able to play for the team or you're not. And if you're good enough, you should be getting minutes and games and rotated around and keeping people fresh and keeping people on the toes. But they are not. We're carrying passenger after passenger, and your Lascelles of the world, your Crafts of the world, your Gillespies of the world, your Ruddies of the world. You go down the list. Many of the youngsters, no striker on the bench yesterday. Neve scoring goals for the reserves. Why isn't he at least on the bench? But you put Lascelles on the bench, who you didn't register for the Champions League because you couldn't register him for the Champions League. And then in the Premier League, you barely give him a sniff. You give him a new contract, you give him extra money. That money could have been used on somebody else who you could have actually used and who could have plugged a problem in the team at the moment. It's just my observations, it's just my thoughts. It's not going against Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe knows clearly far more than what I do, and he sees them in training week in, week out. But this loyalty and this commitment to not wanting to really reinvent the wheel, it will come to cost you. You're not there to be the friends. You're there to be the manager. You're there to be the boss. You're there to make the difficult decisions. And at all the big clubs, you will see, even at a certain level, when a player gets to, and he's sold, and you're scratching your head, and they'll reinvest and go again. And that's what we've got to get better at. We've got to stop this sort of mentality of, oh, we just want to keep everybody we've got, because that means that we can't sign new players, and eventually those players go out of form. They get too comfortable, and it creates issues. It's got to be a constant evolution at Newcastle United, as there is at other clubs, to be able to move forward and move onwards all the time. So I do think that the transfers, and I do think that reinventing yourself and keeping the squad balanced with options in every possible area is key, and is the footpath from the youth and the reserve ranks through to the first team. It's all good signing these great young players, but if you're never giving them the opportunity, you're basically relying on selling them on for a profit to reinvest back into the club. That's basically what it's about. But I would hope that, some of these players coming through, you've got that young Leo Shahar, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, a right back. We're struggling. We've not got the rotation options. We've got Kieran Trippier, who's, getting on in years, who possibly can't play every single game. Still a quality player, no doubt about it. Great lad. But if you can't play every game, why not give him an opportunity? Why not give an Alex Murphy an opportunity? People will say, oh, they're too young and inexperienced. Well, we're playing experienced players and we're getting absolutely shite all out of it at the moment. So you might as well roll the dice, and you never know. You might just come across another gem, another Lewis Miley, who again, how many seconds did he get at the end of the game? We're talking about players and energy and that sort of thing. Well, if you're looking for rotation options, then surely a Lewis Miley would be worthwhile, and one I should have added to the list of we're paying him a wage, but is he really able to contribute? Joe Willock sat there, comes on, does little. So frustrating, so maddening at the moment, but I don't think we can use the energy thing at all. Not the way that modern footballers are treated, in my opinion. Try doing 6, 7 days a week, working every week of the year, even on holiday, still working, still grafting away. There are families and there are people in much harder situations than these lads. I don't want to hear about energy or tired or anything else like that. What I want to see is them playing to the best of their abilities, basically. Back to what was got said. Um, there were a lot of technical mistakes today. There's been a lot of technical mistakes all season, Eddie, which is really unlike us. Is it really? Might have been unlike us or previous seasons, but this season, nah, it's pretty much what we do. Especially in the middle of the pitch, which contributed to us putting us under pressure. Yep, the midfield is putting us under pressure, but it's not the only area. So I think the entire team has to take a hit there. There's no way that you can just say, "Oh, it's only down to midfield." That's it. There's much more deep-rooted issues and causes, and I've just touched upon squad depth and squad availability, and players pushing to get into the first team and rotation and all that sort of thing. But back to what he got said, confidence will now be an issue for sure because I think they're honest players. I've no doubt about the fact they're honest players. Definitely agree with that 100%. And the good people, again, yep, they care. I've no doubt about that. I see that they care. Um, yeah, the no issues, no doubt with that. No reason to question what is getting said there. They all want to do well. I think, yeah, clearly you're in football. You want to do well. You'll say you want to do well. I think there's some players at the moment who are more concerned about their own performances and their careers than maybe the team. I think that's possibly fair. The likes of Gordon, 21 games without a goal for a forward, an elite level forward. It's a head scratcher. It really, really is. 19 is it now? We know assist games that he's actually played in. Um, I don't know. Is the World Cup muddying the waters a little bit? Perhaps. But it doesn't help when people come out with statements like, "Oh, I've fallen out of love with football and I've just rediscovered it this season." And then you see them having better performances for the national team than what they do at Newcastle United. So it's not a great situation if I'm being honest. Um, but you've got to take what he's saying on face value. But there's a couple of just, I don't know, a couple of signs with one or two players, not the majority. The majority of the players, they're going to care. They're going to want to turn this around. They're not going to want an embarrassment on the CV happening at Newcastle United. Um, but it says back to Eddie, what Eddie was saying. But the team's taken a few hits, and I think that's short. So we've got enough experience to respond in the right way. So I'm pleased to hear that. That's what you want to hear. That there is the experience there. There is the leadership there. I did say on our Facebook page last night, the leadership team. They need to start earning the coin, don't they? It's nice to have a shiny little job title or extra responsibilities in a group. If you're at work, you're made team leader or you're given a responsibility for a certain thing. It's nice. It feels good. However, you've got to back it up and actually do what is needed to do. So at a time where it's all going wrong. Everything we touch, it's like the M&M's advert, isn't it? Or Skittles advert, M&M. No, we'll go Skittles. I feel it's more Skittles than M&M's. M&M's them little two dudes, aren't they? Um, you've got to laugh. You've got to laugh if you cry. But yeah, the Skittle man where he touches everything they turn to Skittles. At the moment, everything we touch, away from home especially, domestically, is just turned into absolute nut shite, isn't it? So get back to what Eddie said. We've got enough experience to have been there before. and then we know how to deal with this moment. We know we're going to get criticised. We expect that. Just stopping it there. Yeah, you've got to expect criticism. You're not made of Teflon. Some has to stick, given the form, given the league standards, given the performance, given the issues around team selection, etc. Substitutions. Yeah, everybody is going to get some. Even the fans, I think. I think that they realize that as much as we want to get behind and support the lads 1,000%, which we do, there does have to be critique. They're not immune from that. They've been praised to the hilt when things have gone well, so they must be willing to get critique when it doesn't go very well as well. Eddie Howe talked about sticking together and that they're really unified in this difficult period. I'm glad again that they are. You don't want any knobheads in the group. If there are any knobheads, I'd get rid of them straight away. I don't care who it is, how big of a player that they think there is, because you can't have a bad egg. One bad egg is going to spoil the pudding and all that sort of thing. So we need to see a reaction, but it's not as if the fixtures get any easier, do they, from this point on? Manchester City, Marseille, and Everton are going to be difficult games. And I feel like a crack record because I said last time when we played West Ham, we need to see a response. There needs to be a line in the sand. And it hasn't been. It hasn't been. And it was a complete and utter false dawn. We knew what they were going to do in the Champions League. And, it's come to Brentford and it's this exact same situation. But the fans are left to stew in it. The players are left to stew in it. But look, the players are left to stew in it in their 5-star luxury lifestyles. They'll get a couple of days off, no doubt about it. But they've got to come back. They've got to start showing the energy, the enthusiasm. They've got to play to a game plan. We've got to maybe look at some extra formations, different formations, because the definition of insanity is repeating the same bloody thing and expecting a different outcome. Perhaps experiment with 5 at the back away from home. Do we change up the shape in midfield? Do we go for 2 in midfield? Do we chuck an extra body forward? Do we start when Will Osula's back, an extra Will Osula up top? Will Visser be back and we can play Visser up top and Voltemada just off him? Perhaps we could do that. So there is things that can be addressed both in terms of formation and personnel. But speaking about personnel, there is certain players now who've had more chances than your average Tory politician, and yet they've still consistently under-delivered, underperformed, caused mistakes, caused us to concede goals and cost us points. So we're looking at Nick Pope. I think for a certain fact, Aaron Ramsdale has to come in. Better with distribution, better with catching the ball. You can see when he plays in the League Cup games that the defence just pushes up a little bit further. They've got that confidence in him. With Pope, when he gets the ball back, the fans feel it. You can feel it inside St James's Park, so the players must feel it as well. That it's just like, oh my word, what's going to happen here? Don't do anything absolutely daft. So having Ramsdale in gives us that extra string to the bow, and I think it's a change that needs to happen. And I know Pope is loved by Eddie Howe, but sometimes you can have players that you love loads and you've got to make the difficult decision. I love Joe Linton, but I think he needs to be taken out of the firing line because I don't think he's been anywhere near it this season. In defence, not a great deal sort of particularly wrong here. Most times, 9 out of 10, Botman is great. 10 out of 10 it seems. Malik Chow is absolutely phenomenal. Easy for me to say. It's been a rough night. I barely slept, to be honest. I've been that pissed off. You've got Fabian Schär there in reserve, which is absolutely fine. And Dan Burn playing at centre-back is not a bad option to be able to have, is he? He's just not a left-back. And going on to Dan Burn, I don't want to see Dan Burn at left-back ever again. I really don't. And it's no knocking the lad because he's a legend. He will always have a legendary status at Newcastle United for what he's done. But you wouldn't get a fish and ask it to climb a fucking tree, would you? You've got to do what you're good at. And he's a great centre-back. He's never really relied on pace. He can have a career at Newcastle United for many years to come, but not a career as a left-back. So no matter what the difficult decision is, I heard Eddie Howe talking about the fact, well, he didn't want to take him off because of his height and because of Brentford's physicality and their aerial style. I still think that Lewis Hall did more yesterday in his cameo than what Dan Burn did positively throughout the rest of the game. So that would be me. I think he needs to make the change at left back, and we need to see Lewis Hall back in. Hopefully, Tino Livramento is there or thereabouts for the Manchester City game. I've no problem with Trippier. I think he's a class signing, but I don't think he can play week in, week out anymore. He's a squad player. He's a bench option. He can come on. He's experienced towards the end of games to see games out, so we don't keep giving away stupid goals. He can play the odd game, the cup games or whatever, perfectly fine. But we need Livramento back in, and we need him in ASAP. Fingers crossed he'll be back for the Manchester City game. In midfield, I've just touched upon Joe Linton there before. To me, he's not been the Joe Linton of previous seasons. He's had one good game, and that was the game, obviously, against Bradford in the League Cup. He was phenomenal there. I'm going to stop saying that word because yeah, I'm just literally running on fumes at the moment. But he's been great, hasn't he, for us over the last couple of seasons, and then this season it's dropped off, and it comes back to what I said about when's the right time. And I think we need to be starting to look at and discuss and analyse his successor. So it's all about succession planning, and it's all about looking at the next Joe Linton. As harsh as that sounds, I wish we could have the Joe Linton of old for many, many, many years to come. But I think it comes a point where we even need to look at his future, or he becomes a squad option, or again a good option off the bench to be able to see games out. That would be a perfect use of his skills at the moment. In the middle as well, Tonali, who was normally 99% of the time absolutely class, didn't have his best game yesterday. Bruno was similar, but in saying that, he has been playing with this illness, and he said, I think after the midweek game, it felt like he was playing with a weight pack on his back. He was struggling to breathe. That's clearly going to affect your performance. So I've no problems with Bruno and Tonali moving forward, playing in there. And I think if you're going to persevere with the three, I think you've got to pivot more to either Lewis Miley and have a double pivot in midfield and push Bruno further forward, or you play the 40 million quid was it? Man, Jacob Ramsey in there, and he gets a run of games and he gets his mojo going and gets his form going. And he adds on top of what is some neat passing and stuff with some more killer through balls, and he gets established there in the midfield as a free with Tonali and with Bruno. And then going forward, I would drop Anthony Gordon all day long, even in the Champions League, just to prove a point. If you're not playing to your full potential, if you can pick and choose games, so you're playing great in the Champions League generally, you're playing decent, good stuff for England as well, great goal. But then when you're playing for us, you've got no assists and no goals in such a long period of time, over half a season, then question marks have to be raised. The Gordon who came in at first was hungry. He had a bit of a bad attitude, a point to prove, and I like that. I like that nasty side. He was direct. He was running into the boxes, winning those spot kicks, getting us further up the pitch. Now he seems to be running into players, making the wrong decisions. He's not as direct. He's trying to be a little bit more skillful. He's not getting crosses in. He's not getting shots away. He's not scoring goals. The problems are absolutely huge. So I think he needs, even for his own protection, to be taken out of the team. But if his head's not in the right space, many are suggesting his head was turned by the Liverpool interest that came around about the time that we were looking to scrape by with the FFP, PSR, shite. If his head's not in it and his heart's not in it, then he needs the move for his own career, and we need the move to be able to get the money to reinvest. So, yeah, I don't want to lose our better players, but if they don't want to be here, they need to move on. And if they do want to be here, and I hope, everything crossed, that he does, then he needs to get back to basics, and hopefully we'll see the real Gordon back very, very shortly. But a period on the bench isn't going to hurt him, isn't going to harm him. It might affect his England chances, no doubt about that. But, you only get to play for England, supposedly, when you're playing well for your club side. So the easy thing is, start getting assists, start scoring goals, start doing the business, and then everybody is happy at the end of the day. Personally, for me at the moment, I would play Harvey Barnes out wide left. Harvey Barnes is a guy who's on a pretty much on a level. He'll score you the odd goal. He'll get you the odd assists. He can get into the box. He's direct. He'll try and get shots away. He'll do that game after game after game. It doesn't matter whether it's Champions League, Premier League, League Cup, FA Cup, whatever it may be, a friendly. He's consistent with his game and consistent with his approach. He's not up and down like a Gordon is at the moment. So I'd much rather see that out there in action than watch Gordon at the moment. As much as I know Gordon can be an elite player and can be a game changer, but he's not shown it this season. He's got the credit in the bank, and that's what he's sort of running off, like many others are at the moment. And then up top, we need Visser back urgently, if only to be able to rotate with Big Nick, because Big Nick has been absolutely fantastic. He's hit the ground running, coming from a different league. He's done amazingly well and better than what we probably could have hoped for. The future is bright with Big Nick, and it will be him and hopefully Visser sharing the responsibilities. Different games, different types of defenses, different types of teams, different types of setups you're playing against warrants a different player in there every single time. So one of them two, no doubt about it. On the right hand side, you could play Visser out there. He has done that before. So he can do that job out wide right. But I think for the time being, I think Murphy is offering more. And it just makes the Elanga situation even more of an absolute head scratcher because look, he's gone what now? 14, 15, 16 games. Assists, goals, not to be seen, scratching around. It's not as if he's been unlucky. It's not as if he's getting the ball and taking it well and running into space and using his pace. There's none of that on show. You know, if you hadn't have seen the previous career over at Nottingham Forest, you'd be scratching your head and thinking, what have they spent £55 million on the Timu fucking Obertan? You know, he looks like something off Sheen. Um, you'd be comparing Miggy and comparing him. You'd have probably said just on snippets. Oh well, keep Miggy. He's scoring the odd goal. He'll get you the odd cross. He'll run about all day. At the moment, Elanga isn't even running about all day. And that's the alarming and scary thing because pace is obviously a major weapon in his arsenal. And I just think that £55 million at the moment feels like we've had our pants pulled down. Do I think he'll come good eventually? Yes, I do, because he's got too much in the locker to not get there. But he's had a significant period of time, and we've seen nothing. I was certainly hoping that we'd have seen little bits um, here and there, but I honestly can't say that I've seen very much from him at all. He had a decent, and I mean decent cameo against Barcelona, a massive game again, a player who got up for a massive game. But again, like I said, it's the bread and butter that you've got to come back to. And so maddening when we know that we're much better than what we're showing at the moment. But it's up to the lads just to get wins at the moment, to get points, to get goals, and then hopefully from there start building a little bit of consistency up. I hope that there is going to be some soul searching over this international break. It doesn't help that a lot of the players are away with the national teams and stuff. It doesn't help that we've not got much training. But look, this is the same for other teams, and they cope and they manage with it. We've done this before, so we should know what it's like and have been fully prepared for all eventualities. But there's no doubt, I think we'll have a better second half of the season with some players back and hopefully one or two additions in January. But the more this slump continues, the harder it is going to be to get back into Europe. You miss out on Europe and you end up losing a lot of your top players to other teams. They come in and poach them, and then you're building from scratch again. You want to be building from a position of strength where we pushing for cups, we're winning cups, we're getting into European competitions on a consistent basis, and we're attracting the top talent, and we're getting the extra money in that brings. It's there's been a lot of stuff over social media, Eddie Howe in, Eddie Howe out, fierce debate on both sides. I personally think, he's got that much credit in the bank that anything now would be knee jerk. I take the argument and I take the point though that the club were quite cruel and quite quick to depart with the services of Becky Langley, who again had lots of success over previous seasons, but it wasn't working this season. I think Eddie Howe is on thin ice. I really do. I don't want him to go. I think the man's an absolute messiah. He's a god for what he's done on Tyneside, for the football he's provided over previous seasons, for the Champions League qualifications, for the cup victory in the cup final. I think he's done more right than he's done wrong, and he built the machine. He deserves the opportunity to be able to fix the machine when it's, not working. But the pressure's on. You know, a difficult week the first week back. If you get a couple of defeats in there, and it builds and builds and builds, and you'll get more and more of ownership and management looking at the situation and thinking, how long do we wait? You know, I'm praying. I've got everything crossed that Eddie produces a miracle. We get some sort of result against Manchester City. We take that into Marseille in a committed performance in a difficult environment, playing away in the Champions League against Marseille. And then next weekend, we really have a go at Everton. Um, Again, they are going to be sensing blood. They are going to know. And again, Dan Burns available for that game, but they've got to make some bold choices selection wise. We've got to go for it. We maybe need to change up some of the formations, and we need to be getting ready for the January transfer window so that at the beginning, when it opens, we're able to sign a left back. We're able to sign another forward to be able to come into the ranks, or whatever it may be that Eddie thinks we need to be able to be more competitive. We don't need to be waiting until the end of the month when the window's about to close to be able to make our moves, because all that will happen is another load of games will have gone and another load of opportunities to get 3 points on the board will also have literally been flushed down the old toilet. So we need to be acting fast. We need to be scouting the players. We need to be trying to make agreements in advance of the transfer window opening so that we are ready at the beginning to move, to get players in, and to try and turn around this complete and utter shit show of a season around in the shortest possible of time. I'm interested to know what you think, because, like I said, the debate on social media has been all over the place. Loads of people screaming about certain players, certain formations, the management, the scouting that's been done, the transfer business that has been done, the transfer business that has not been done, the selection of players. Should certain players be starting all the time? Should they be guaranteed certain picks? Should other players off the bench be coming in? And are the youngsters that are being overlooked and ignored for whatever reason? Let me know down below in the comments. Like I say, I've tried to take it a little bit further back because I was absolutely raging yesterday, and I think there's criticism for the players. I think there's criticism for Eddie Howe. I think there's criticism for the scouts. I think it's all there, and I think it's all fair and all warranted. Do I want to get Eddie Howe out of the door at Newcastle United? Certainly, certainly not. The man does have credit in the bank. It is being tested at the moment, there's no doubt. The football is absolutely terrible, and we look an absolute mile off everybody else. But with some positive changes, with different formations to be able to use away from home, with some better set pieces perhaps and stuff as well. Get the best out of the lads that we've got. Get the reinforcements in. Get a few wins on the board. Get some momentum. Get the monkey of our back with regards to away victories and that side of things. And it can be very, very quickly turned around. There's no doubt about it. But 1,000%, look, it hurts when we lose. It really, really does. But I love it when we win. I love it when we get victories and goals. But I'm also 1,000% behind the badge, behind the club, behind the lads, behind the manager. No doubt about it. It hurts because we love it so much. We care about it so much. It's a huge part of your everyday life, that football club. And when you can see strange decisions, things going against us, the good times not being here as much, it's hard. But look, we've been through bad times before, and we come out the other side. We'll come out the other side again. I've no doubt about it. I've done all my analysis ratings. That was hard as well, because again, you don't like being critical. I'd much rather come out and talk about how great, how fantastic, the players have been. Great moments, scoring goals, great assists, clean sheets, great saves. I'd much rather be talking about all that, all this negativity. All it does, like I say, it keeps you up all night, struggling to sleep these last 2 weekends because just that head up, that annoyed, and just hurting because just see it a mile off. Literally copy and paste jobs from one week to the other. Personally, I didn't see much improvement from the West Ham game to the Brentford game. Eddie Howe did. He did see it. He thought he saw players giving the all. I'm not. I'm certainly. I'm not going to say too much about individual players, but I'm certainly not seeing a team giving it all, because we know they are capable of much, much better. Much will come of trying to get a tune out of the likes of Alanga. Much will come out of getting Vissa back up to speed in the shortest possible time frame. There's no doubt about it. And a few tough decisions around the likes of Lascelles and Kraft and co. need to be made. You know, either they can contribute to the team and they're a viable option, or they're not and they need to be moved on for the sake of their careers and the sake of Newcastle United. We cannot afford, with a small squad, to be able to really carry passengers, and we need to make sure that, certainly after the January window, that we've got at least 2 players for every single position, and we've got players who can play in more than one position to give us that tactical flexibility during games, so you don't have to keep making substitutions and the likes. Hopefully Joe Linton is okay for after the international break. Fingers crossed. We'll have no Dan Burn for the Manchester City game, but I think that's a sort of blessing in disguise, because it forces Eddie Howe, and hopefully once Eddie Howe sees Lewis Hall playing well, that gives him the mandate to be able to keep him in there. Hopefully we get Livramento back as well, because he's been a big miss. There's no doubt about it. There is mitigation, but at the same time, there's no mitigation for when you just can't make a simple couple of yard pass, when you can't be doing the running, when you're not getting passes away and shooting. So everything has to be taken with a bit of a pinch of salt. But hopefully that much more calmer, because the first version I did this yesterday, following on from the bit I did for Toon Talk, was very passionate. But look, sometimes you need to take a step back and just look at the bigger picture, and look for solutions and answers, and not just rant and rave as much. But it's just so disappointing. You get your noses ahead and you think, look, let's make this a scrappy game. Do whatever we've got to do. Some of the old dark art, bring them back. I'm all for it. And intensity, philosophy, pushing, right from the opposition being in defence with the ball, pushing from the front. I'm all for that. Doesn't have to be champagne football, because to be honest, at the moment it's like a fucking flat shandy what we're watching at the moment. Traipsing up a couple of hours, not complaining because lucky to have tickets, but a couple of hours up, a couple of hours down, and then the players just aren't doing the business. They're not putting enough of a shift in. I don't question the honesty or the integrity of the players, but it's just collectively not enough. They collectively need to do much more, and they've got to remember all that fight that they put into qualify for the Champions League, to win the cup and so on. Don't let it go for waste. Careers are short. Times at a particular club are short, and big decisions need to be made. So hopefully Eddie Howe does his magic, and he's done his magic loads of times before. There's been reactions to bad results and bad times before, and he's turned it around. Look, last season, 12th in December, and we still finished with a cup and in the Champions League. Look, I'm not one of these. Oh, you're an ostrich. You need to open your eyes. You've got your head in the sand and stuff. I'm a realist. I know it's not good enough. I know you can't keep going to the well and being like down and out, and then turning it around and having a miraculous recovery. It just, if you keep doing that, eventually you'll run out of luck, and it won't turn around. So we've got to be very, very careful. But I think we've got the right man at the helm to be able to steady the ship and to get us back playing the football we know these lads are absolutely fucking capable of. A quality, class bunch of players who are just simply not showing it consistently enough as a team, as a unit, to be able to get the business done. I think that's probably the best way to sum it up at the moment. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Subscribe to Magpie 24/7. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you watching the video. Take care. Keep it tuned. And I'll speak to you later.
Today for Toon Talk, the Newcastle United podcast from Magpie 24/7.